everyone. Guess what? This is the April Energy Update. Can you even believe we're here on April already? Oh, it just kind of came up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time to do the energy update. So here we are today. And what I'm going to do, as I did in the last one, is I'm just going to go ahead and channel live in the sense of not sitting down, channeling like I normally do, transcribing it, and then reading it. So we're just going to go with this. Kind of hope someday I'll just do live energy updates. I don't know. We'll see what happens and what I'm guided to. So today we're going to talk about the energy update for April 2022. So first, I'm going to apologize right away for what might be a little bit of a sniffly nose. Spring starting in the Midwest, and somehow I have gotten some allergies started up. So I apologize in advance. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is I'll do the energy update. We'll just see what comes through. And then I do know, well, we'll maybe tack that on at the end. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. We're headed into spring for the Northern Hemisphere. As we know, the equinox was just a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Yeah, I can't keep track of time anymore. And then for the Southern Hemisphere, we're going into fall. So whatever you're going into, it's a new seasonal change upon us. And with that is going to be coming some new shifts and changes in the collective. What I have shown previously, for those of you who may have not joined me before, is my visualization was showing January, February, March elevating, going kind of up a hill. Now remember, I read energy, okay? And then they give me visualizations to represent that energy. It was almost like we were on a cliff at the end of March, which really I then ended up realizing is the equinox for us, or was the equinox for us. And then I hadn't been shown much more, but it was like a jumping off place. And I knew something big was coming, or a big shift in the collective and with ourselves individually. So what my intention is to do today is to help us understand the collective picture. But remember, the collective picture right now is an old manifestation, all right? We're seeing what we don't want, and it's breaking down. You know, we've talked a lot about this before. What we're working on now individually, and have been for the past few years, is our inner self, because then we create and manifest from that into the new collective. Okay? Every single one of us is important to this, as we've talked before. Doing this inner work that the awakening causes, that the ascension causes. And honestly, I feel that everyone, even if, oh, I have chills. Okay, I have real chills. This is, when they give me chills, this is a real emphasis on something I'm about to say. They really want you to know this, is that regardless of what you see out there, every single person is doing inner work. It may be a blip on the screen, and that beautiful soul self, higher self comes in and sends a message, and there's something amazing that comes out, but then they shift right back in, right? But it's all happening to every single one of us. And those of us that are awakening and are very conscious of this, we're able to utilize that even more, to take that piece that we feel and see of that higher self way of viewing ourselves, first and foremost, and viewing the journey, then continues to replicate out as for ourselves as we understand it. Does that make sense? Okay, there's a lot of energy around this conversation today. So we're gonna try to explain the collective, but within that very clearly how that's going to look for your individual journey. So remember, what we've been doing for the past few years, and you could argue our entire lifetime, is inner work. But the past few years have been exponentially energetic with respect to that. Driven inward to look at ourselves in a more holistic way, to understand who we truly are, to understand what we've done to ourselves in the past, in the sense of they just said the love factor. Yeah, you know, because ultimately this is about how we love ourselves or not. And mostly we haven't, right? in one way or another, or we've allowed the collective societal framework that we've created over time define us, suppress us, oppress us, and in many ways now launch us forward into the understanding that that's not real and true. We are opening up to who we truly are, and that drives us to learn to, bottom line, love ourselves more. But with it comes all that work, right, that we've been doing. So now we're ready to launch off into truly a new era. As you may recall, I've talked about how I saw 2022 coming in as a time of great expansion and creativity and really starting to manifest out, all right? But at the same time, what we're seeing is it feels like that's not happening, but it is with us individually. So we're seeing old manifestations in the collective and very much signifying what we don't want. And now we're rebuilding within every single one of us. So I'm going to get started on what we see coming up. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of the rest of the year. I never know about that. But needless to say, I just wanted to lay a little bit of the foundation for you as we move forward in this conversation. So let me introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Carolyn Zaiser. I'm a channel of higher information. I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor here to help you on your journey forward. So I offer these videos so that you can take something away to add another puzzle piece to the puzzle of your own journey. Like I say, we gather puzzle pieces from all over. So hopefully today you'll take something else away that will assist you forward into the discovery of your own journey, why you're here, what this whole story is even about with respect to the human collective. So again, thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who are new or haven't before checked out the description box below, there's a link where you can actually go get a video on how to create flow in your body for health and wellness. And we're going to get here soon to another video on getting back to basics, because we have a tendency to forget the basics. So the flow video will help you really think about getting back to basics and never forgetting those, because I have a journey already with kind of forgetting the basics, and it really took me off track. Anyway, needless to say, check out that video on flow and how that will assist you forward in your journey. But more importantly, what it does is it sends you over to my email list. It gets you signed up for that. I send one email out a week, typically on Fridays. It's a channeled message from the Light Keepers for the week forward. Very supportive. They're really beautiful messages. So I hope you'll join me there too for more free content. So with that, today we're just going to go ahead and get going. There's a lot of energy around this, and I'm just going to sink into what they bring me. Oh, times will tell, yes we say, you've launched forward in your day to a new place and time. The collective is finding their way, but destruction must take place in the way you see it in your way. And yes, we know you don't understand too, as the human with emotion and the beauty of light within you. You wish for everything to be fine, we say, immediately upon waking up in your day. And yes, it can, and oh, it will be for you, yes, individually. And the collective will come along in time as long as you do your work, we find, for yourself. Oh, yes, we say. That's the most important thing you can do in your day. Look at yourself and not outside. Know that your journey is deep inside. And what you create for yourself too, every single one of you, will then replicate out, we find, into the energies of the collective in time. You exude more light than you know from the beauty of your own soul. As you find who you are deep inside, it will be reflective in the new earth and time. Oh, I have so many chills. That's so beautiful. So they usually start off, for those of you who haven't heard these before, they usually start off with their own voice and a poem. And then what happens with me, and I'll just repeat this again, I talked about this last time, how I channel, is I'm really dizzy today, so we're going to, hopefully I can keep going here. I'll get the message out, but I'm very not here, I guess I will say, in my body. So what will happen with me when I channel is you probably aren't going to know any difference, because I don't go into a trance. My channeling method is I just focus on allowing information to come through. Essentially what has happened with me is over time I'm like an empty vessel. The human then gets set aside. It's not anything I notice. It's just when I get in my space, particularly in this office here, and I just have intent to bring it through, and then I set myself, my human self aside. I don't do anything to do that. And ultimately, because I've done this for so long, it just is a natural process where information starts flowing through. It'll flow through in the Lightkeeper's voice, first of all, typically, and then it just flows through in my voice. Again, I don't go into a trance. I don't sound like anybody else. I will just bring through information in my voice, but it is from the higher realms. I think what I will say about channeling is, as you start, because everybody can do this, I'm just here to say, in one way or another, some kind of bringing through of information. What I would highly suggest is, and how I got there, is meditation, breath work, or mindfulness. I would do a half hour in the morning, half hour at night. And I didn't really know where I was headed with all of this, but needless to say, it set the stage for me to be able to literally take the human aside and be an empty vessel. And I like quiet meditations because you're not having to think about any words, even music. I still do some of those where it's just high frequency, or I guess I would say tones, and I'm not able to explain this. Tones, frequency, hertz meditations. I still like those, but I'm one without words. And I'm going to tell you, I feel like for me, that quiet space has just opened up my ability to just set myself aside and let it flow. We could talk all day long about that. Maybe I'll do a video on channeling. If you guys are interested in that, I could do a whole video on how to start channeling, or at least my process, and give you some other information. So you can let me know in the comments. Okay, this is going to be a really long video, so I should get going. All right, so let's see what we've got for coming up for April. They've already talked a little bit about it by setting the stage, but okay, I'm getting launching off into the times to come. So what I'm seeing here is, okay, we're standing on tiptoes. Okay, let's talk about the collective first, please. Okay, they're talking about launching into a new period of time. By the way, I will look up here most of the time because I'll get information. I'll try to look at you on occasion, but launching off into creative times that have been unknown heretofore. It's what they're talking about is it's the beginning of us really being able, they just said reap what you sowed. Okay, so this is the work that we've done, all right? So we all know, those of us going through awakening, we're consciously aware of work, right? Like we know when stuff comes up, the emotions, all that, right? We've done this work, we've visited, we haven't shoved it aside again like we've done for eons, right? We have been doing this work to one degree or another. This is reaping what we sow, and it's positive, okay? It's really positive. However, what I'm going to tell you is we will always continue to still do individual work, all right? But what's happening now is with what we have done for ourselves and the work we've done, we're actually starting to, okay, they're just showing the water flowing over. Okay, remember how they use the inflatable swimming pool and how when somebody sits on it and it starts that tidal wave of water moving out and then the rest of the water just keeps coming, right? Oh, wow. What they're showing is when you start this process, they said you have filled your cup. Okay. To overflowing. Okay, so when we're filling our cup to overflowing, what they're showing is we now start to manifest out into our own world. We start to see things begin to be created out of the work that we've done and where we want to be. A lot of this is conscious. A lot of us have things we're working on, interests, passions, desires. We've already started to see some of this, but a lot of it isn't, okay? A lot of it is just going to start bubbling up. They're showing like our inner self overflowing into now the creation, the manifestation, they're saying of our wants and our desires, of what we wish for in our life. And remember, this is not an overnight sensation. I mean, in many ways, you know how this works, right? You feel overnight sensation lots of times, like, oh my God. And then it's kind of this slow drip, right? Well, what's happening now is the cup's overflowing from the work we've done. Oh, God, I have so many chills. So the cup's overflowing from the work that we've done, and it's flowing into April. And so we're going to see pieces of our manifestations really start to take place. And what I will say to you is so many of you that I work with, I'm starting to see this pattern already. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's happening now for this individual. They're starting to see things get created in like fits and starts. So overflowing into manifestation creation for ourselves of shifts and changes in our life. But this isn't going to happen, like I said, overnight sensation. This will come over time, and we're going to really see this happen. Okay, they just said exponentially increase over the next year. Okay, forget what's happening out in the collective right now, because you can get really distracted. So I'm going to just here to tell you, we're going to talk about that here in a second. We're just talking about inner stuff right now. What you're creating from the inside out. Don't get distracted. They're clearly talking to me about this. And again, we always say this. You can step your toe into what's going on in the collective, but you got to come back to your center yourself. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about the collective, even in family, friends, and then the larger society, the larger world collective. So always remember that, okay? If you feel like you've lost yourself, come back. Come back. Come back, okay? Oh my gosh, I have so many chills because I've lost myself recently. I could go into that. I'm not going to, though, because we'll end up with a super long video. But I have lost myself recently, very much so. And today, honestly, it started today where I'm like, okay, we see where we went. We need to come back and center. Anyway, so they're giving, no wonder I had to go through this. It makes sense because we're talking about this now. So recentering, always recentering, because we're going to get pulled back from what we want to create and manifest. But know that you can, and know that you're that powerful, because you're starting to see this. A lot of us, we're all at different stages, but at the same time, a lot of us have seen little blips on the screen of like, oh, a lot of us are starting to see big stuff happen. And so again, we don't want to put blinders on, but we do want to have shades. So they just said, okay, this is great. So they were showing horse blinders, and they're like, no, it's not like this. It's like this. Okay, so you're like putting shades on, right? You're putting a little bit of shade on so that you can still see, but you're not blinded. Okay, by the collective. By the collective is what they're saying, what's going on in the collective. Okay, so needless to say, what we're going to see now, they're giving me, okay, they're talking about over the next year or two. And remember, time is off is a little weird, but this is what they're giving me clearly through 2022, 2023. Okay, 2024. Okay, they're giving me 2025. Okay, we're not going to go out that far. Okay, they're talking about great manifestation in the collective, but it comes from the individual. All right, so they're showing a metaphor of, okay, this is kind of cool. You know, they use a lot of Marvel comics, a lot of superhero for me. They're showing this very cool visual of, they're showing feminine and masculine. Okay. They're showing a female, like, superhero, a male superhero. I have a lot of chills. And they're showing metal armor. You know how their suits are, like, but they're showing their forearms, like, as you're going through your journey, like you're going through your journey, and you still have things being, coming to you, but you're deflecting them, is what they're saying. But they're really showing feminine, masculine right now. Okay, they're talking about coming together. Okay, so you're going to, this is integrating, very much the integrating of the divine feminine and the divine masculine into yourself. All right, so we're going to talk about this collectively. What they're showing, though, very clearly for every one of us is masculine, feminine, deflecting, all the things coming out. And I'm showing, I just heard unification. So they're showing, we're unifying our divine feminine, our divine masculine. They just said balancing it out. We're coming more into balance with that. All right. So what's happened in the collective over time is we've had this toxic patriarchy, right? We've lost the divinity in both masculine, feminine. And honestly, females have taken on a lot of that toxicity as well in how we come across. Oftentimes we've lost that divinity. I mean, we've always had it in us, but we aren't showing it, right? What they're really showing now, oh my gosh. Okay, they just said the toxicity is releasing so that there is space. I have so many chills. So there's space for the feminine and masculine to come together into alignment with what they're talking about. And they're showing that coming into each of us. And they're showing it by the male-female characters they're showing me going side by side, aligning side by side. So this is you, okay? This is the individual you, your feminine, your masculine, really looking at what that means for you. And we're aligning. What we're doing is we are aligning with our and balancing with our masculine and feminine. That's what we've been missing for so long. So ultimately, honestly, this journey is back to that balance, that beautiful divine balance that we were meant to have, that unification within ourselves. And from there, guess what? We create out of that beauty of the feminine, masculine coming into balance. And with that, nothing else can stand in its way that isn't of balance, that isn't of love, that isn't of divinity, of the two, the feminine, masculine, because we are ultimately made up of the two into the oneness of us. But we each individually have to find our balance. So we're coming into that kind of balance. We're going to keep doing that over this year. And as we do that, we're deflecting along the way. But I keep seeing the masculine and feminine lined up together, and they're working together. They're looking at each other. Oh, I can't tell you how many chills I have. I want to go get a sweater. I'm so cold. They just said working their way forward into the light. You're going to create between the two, meaning the divine masculine, divine feminine, into the new times to come. In the collective, what they're saying is what we see all the old energy, right? All the old energy, but oh my gosh, now they're showing feminine, masculine flying together, like as superheroes flying together and breaking down. Oh my gosh, they're showing like really dark old energy. Okay, so I got to take you where they take me. So as I'm looking up here, they're showing me Ukraine, Russia again. This is a representation, okay? Remember, it's a representation. It's a representation, they're saying, of the fall of the patriarchy, toxic masculinity, toxicity in general, okay? And remember, we're not talking about men being, for those of you who may not quite grasp what I'm talking about, it's not about men are bad. All right, this is the energy of what we've taken the masculine to be and created as the patriarchy to control society, the power and the grasping for glory and the ego and all of that. Anyway, this is what we're seeing in Russia and Ukraine is they just said breaking down of the toxicity in society and the collective and opening up to the divine light. So it doesn't look like that right now, but let me tell you, this is key to where we're headed in the future. And they keep showing me with this energy there, right? Remember, it's a representation, and sometimes it's a metaphor, but it's a representation of what is getting broken down. It doesn't look like it's going to break down right now, the old, but it will. It's going to take some time. And it's important to understand this is all coming from us individually. It's about us doing our work. If you want to help, literally in what you see out in 3D, work on yourself. Continue to work on yourself. I don't need to go through all that in detail again, but we are going to do a back to basics video because I really want people to still hold on to that. It's really important to remember the basics. And, even if you all think that, I'm doing all that, you might get a reminder, though, of something you're not doing or that we've forgotten to do when we get along this journey. So what we've got here is the creation of, we've got masculine and feminine coming back into each of you in the divinity that is meant to be. From that, we're able to create out of that as we move forward in 2022, going into 2023, where I feel like a manifestation in a year, there's going to be we're not going to know where we even are in a year. Okay, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be strife. We're going to see. Oh, they just said the diamonds in the rough. Yes. Okay, they're talking about diamonds in the rough, sparkling over the sands of time. Oh, the times to come. Oh wow, I have tons of chills. Okay, they're showing diamonds all over on this beach, on this sandy beach. It looks like, whoa, I have so many chills. It feels like sands of time, diamonds in the rough. We're kind of seeing that now, but what they're showing is and I don't even know what this means, in 2023, they're showing like a year from now, like the diamonds start to come up out of the sand. The diamonds, and these are these new creations, diamonds in the rough. We're diamonds in the rough right now, and our future is diamonds in the rough. Oh, wow. I just heard advancing us forward as we move forward individually. We're going to know that we are each diamonds in the rough, and we're going to start creating out from the work that we've done throughout the rest of the year. I'm hearing don't let anything dissuade you. If you know, don't let anything dissuade you. Don't dissuade you. Sorry. Don't let anything dissuade you. Oh, wow. Okay, so what we lay the groundwork for now, we're going to start to create from in fits and starts in this year. And so in the collective, what we're going to see, they just said a continued breaking down. Okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. And, well, I don't even really know what's going on a limb. I'm just giving what I'm receiving for you. I know many of you may be concerned about what is happening, and I'm just going to say, again, they have shown to me, in the timeline they're showing me right now. Now remember, timelines shift and change all the time. We're always doing this, okay? And free will. We have free will too. But the timeline they're showing me in this moment in time is that nuclear is off the table for what we're seeing over there. I know there's a lot of talk about that, but I am going to say this because this is what I'm hearing. And I'm understanding that they keep saying putting a lid on it. So I hope that helps you feel a little bit better about things, but the point is not to focus on that. But I do want to talk about the collective because there's a lot of that. And so what we don't want to do is put that fear energy out there. Bring yourself back into yourself. Don't put any of that fear energy out there. And I know that's super difficult, right? In these trying times. But what we're doing right now is, remember they just said time lag between, and I know time, you can argue, doesn't exist, but we're here in time, right? So we're going to talk about time. So we've got time lag between our manifestations. So we created all that stuff we're seeing out there now, right? So this is the explosive time where it's going to shift and change everything. Because what we've done is this work that we've been doing over the last few years now gets shifted outside of us, right? That energy flows out to those old manifestations, breaks them down, which is what we're seeing. Oh my God, I have so many chills. Breaks them down, okay? We're creating inside new energy. We're new. We're like a recharged battery, spitting out this new energy and this force. I wish you could see the superhero visuals they're showing me, because I don't know, that's what they always give me. And this force that just, oh God, I have so many chills, breaks through the old. And it's just like, it's coming from each of us doing the work, coming out, breaking out. And it's a light force. It's this beautiful collective light force coming up against, okay, I'm just going to show you this. They're rolling around. They're showing the southern. I feel so dizzy. I actually feel nauseous. Excuse me, the light of our force of our inner work is coming around the southern. Okay, if you were to look at a map, because remember, I'm like Google Earth, they always show me like a map and they zoom me in. So they're showing this light force coming from, this is a map, right? And from Russia, like around here, not up here. It's like doing this kind of, probably because the rest of Russia is up here, right? But I'm getting a light effect through here, a collective light effect through here. And it's pushing, they just said it's suppressing what's going on in Russia. It's a huge light force that we are offering. Again, this comes from us individually, each one of us, right? That's why it's so important to do our work, not just for our individual journey, because our individual journey rolls up into the collective. So what they're showing is this light force is starting to envelope areas geographically. Again, it may not look like this on the surface. Remember that. But visualize this, okay? The light force going in as you're doing your own work, right? Visualize that light going in out of you into and around and around. They're just really showing this. I have so many chills. I'm hearing the words the need for change. I'm hearing it will become readily apparent. We're talking about the global community. Remember, we're now talking about the collective because we've already talked about our individual, right? You know, I'm getting the words overthrow. It still feels like there's some level, and I honestly, I don't know what's going on out there. I don't know if there's talk of this at all presently, but I'm getting the words overthrow. Okay, they just talked about, and I don't know where this is. One could argue it's Russia, whatever. But I'm getting a regime change involved. There's talk of a regime change behind the scenes. They're talking about the words explosive. Okay, I guess we're talking about what potentially could happen in the future. Okay, so when I talk about the future, one thing I want you to know, and we're going to get back to this, is what it is what I see energetically, or excuse me, what it is that they give me is what is highly energetic right now in this now moment. Okay, and it's a highly probable situation to come. However, it can shift and change with free will and timelines that we're always crossing and moving through. What timeline are you going to choose? What timeline are you going to choose? Kind of thing. So again, it goes back to the individual. What are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? We're creating from our individual into the collective. So what they're showing is regime change. I just heard times to come. There's been some overthrow in the works. And it's a collective overthrow. Okay. Because remember, there are light workers everywhere. I don't care how bad it looks on the surface. There are light workers in every spot. Okay. Whether they know it or not. Okay. So they're showing regime change. Yeah. I just heard the word disruption. I just heard disruption from the collective mindset. Okay, so you know, everything's energetics, right? Disruption from the collective mindset, you know, easily could be the mere fact that we don't want this. We don't want what we're seeing in the collective. On all fronts. Forget Russia and Ukraine for a minute. Think of all the other things going on, right? What we don't want to see. And our light is growing so dramatically. It's starting to, they just said wash over. Okay, now they're giving me a visual. Okay, this is interesting. They give a lot of metaphors of washing over a beach that is full of trash. Okay, so the incoming waves. Oh, this is so interesting. They're saying this is happening now. And even though we can't necessarily see it, we can feel it with the energy, right? Incoming waves pulling out, cleaning the beaches, right? Oh, and they're showing, they're not just it's not taking the trash, the old out, and just polluting the water. It's engulfing it. Oh, they said churning it into bits of nothing, into light. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going a little bit longer, and then we're going to finish up for April. So what we're getting here, and this is this is April, very different than what we've been seeing. All right, very different than what we've been seeing, because it's actually taking us. It's the start of taking us into a brand new place. All right, but they're also showing, obviously they're giving more than just April here. Okay, but this is the precursor of things to come. So what they're showing is this, again, the energetics starting to play out. And they're saying if you're wise, you'll see it. In bits and pieces of information coming out, you'll see it. You'll be able to grasp onto the things where they hit you and you're like, yep, this is part of the start. This is part of the start of the change and the shift. It's not going to be necessarily in your face, but you're going to see this light. You're going to feel it with little things that are shifting and changing in the collective. We're in this for a little while, okay? I'll just tell you, we're in this for a while. 2022 is huge for this, okay, for this breaking down from the old to the new. Okay, so you can argue communism, okay, just use this as the metaphor, right? Old era, old clunky way of, power grabbing and controlling, and we've seen this before in other videos where I always see these old looking, and I've said this before I even knew what I was talking about, these old looking structures, and I say, good, looks like communist era. Well, here we are, right? So what better representation than the old, than Russia getting involved? And when I'm talking about Russia, I'm not talking about the people. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the power structures. Always remember that. It has nothing to do with the individual people. It's the power structure that's been put in place. That's what I talk about, okay? Always talking about that. So as we see that breaking down, okay, so they're also showing, you might remember if you've watched the videos in the past, how I saw the grid. You can argue what the grid is around Earth, but it's, for me, it's an energetic grid. The old, whoa, chills, the old grid breaking down. Let's just see where we are right now. Because I said last time, it looks very communist era, old grid, energy grid. And I'm like, oh my God, that's breaking down. You know, I've said this before, right? And what I was seeing fairly recently, which was interesting, was within that, okay, there's the old, within this, and here's your Earth, okay? Within the, or excuse me, old, here's Earth, old grid breaking down, shaking, seeing that happen, and this new one being built. It's all light, it's all gold, it's all white. So what I'm showing right now, compared to what we saw last time, is the strength of the light. The strength of the light is massive. It's massive. And here's what it's doing. Oh, they just said reverberation out. So this new one's being built, right? We're building it by our work, by the individual work you're doing. You need to know that. You need to know you're more powerful than you know. You may think you're sitting at home doing nothing, but meditating in the morning and night, and, you know, connecting in, and, you know, loving yourself, working on yourself, and thinking, what am I doing to help? Oh, that's how this is happening, right? So that's how this new grid's being built, this new beautiful light around the Earth. And it's growing stronger and stronger because more and more people are waking up, right? A lot of people are moving super fast through this, okay? So doing our work. And the light, we're creating new. We're creating each of us new. And what's happening is that strength of that light's breaking down all that old, okay? We're breaking down all that old. So, okay, so here are a few things. Don't ask me why all of a sudden this just showed up. They're like, go take a look at what you're looking at every day. Now, I'm going to give you an example, because here's the thing. You want that light to continue to exude. And it's really interesting how the old will find its way into us through the cracks and the crevices they just said. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're contributing to this new grid, this new light grid, all right? We don't want that old communistic era. we want that to break down, right? And in doing so, which is what's happening right now, all right, that kind of energy, that's why we're seeing what we're seeing in the collective with the war, okay, and many other things. But anyway, that's a real representation. So what we want to do, God, this is actually the getting back to the basics part. Okay, I'm not going to go into this fully, but what I do want to give you is the metaphor they gave me, or it's not even a metaphor, it's an actual thing. So most of us are on some kind of social media. All right, here's what to do. Start really, they just said, I don't like this word, but they used it, culling. Okay, they used another word. They just said, oh God, I just lost it. They just said, like crafting, or, curating. Okay, it's curating. They're like, that's actually a better term, they said. Okay, they said, well, the culling came from you, not us. Okay, all right. Anyway, curating your social media, because I'm going to tell you it matters. So, good example, Instagram. Okay, I don't really get on social media that much other than for my work, but what I'll do on occasion, I love Instagram, but I didn't like Instagram in the beginning because I didn't understand it really. I just kind of, whatever showed up, I'd watch, and I'm like, oh God, ooh. Well, finally, I started realizing, I mean, you may think I'm, from the dark ages, but I honestly wasn't on it that much. And finally I thought, ooh, I can create this any way I want. I can create my own world here. So what I do is I have gotten rid of everything, anything that shows up, even if it's I know this may sound a little extreme, but what I'll do is when I follow certain accounts, if it's of light, and I know, I can feel it, but on occasion there are accounts that are, but then there's something that shows up in it that's really dark. I get rid of it immediately. Okay, so I've curated my Instagram, and you might think, well, you're just an ostrich sticking your head in the sand. Nope, I am surrounding myself with light. Okay, I know what's going on out there, but I know enough to know. I'm surrounding myself with light in everything that I look at. I will, even if I'm referred to videos that might be interesting and understanding. If I start it and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, no, I can feel it. I'm like, nope. So I very much have curated my Instagram very specifically. Even the ads, I will get rid of ads. It's irrelevant. I am curating everything. It's really important to do that, okay? They're really wanting me to express this to you. Curating what you see online. Oh, there's talking about the powerful energies behind, okay, electronics and social media. I think you all know that, but what I would say to you, go in with a fine-tooth comb. They just said this. Go in with a fine-tooth comb. This has to do with people you interact with on a daily basis, too, because remember what you're doing. You're affecting your own energetic state by this. But then, bigger point is you're affecting the collective, okay? So that's how we want to handle this. Now, when you jump in, all right, when you jump in with individuals because we can't hide ourselves from all of this, right? But we can do a pretty good job of curating all that comes into our awareness. When you have to encounter that, for example, you're around a group of people or whatever it is, you can go in with your strength and you can just go, okay, this is who I am. This is what's happening here. I'm not going to let this come inside into me. I'm not going to make that my own. I will observe it and I will let it go. All right? In those maybe more rare times nowadays of you being around situations that I'll just say aren't of the highest light, because that's what we're doing right now. We're moving into the highest light possible. And again, we're at all different stages of this, but I'm going to tell you right now, those who are I just heard coming up from behind. They're not behind. Nobody's behind. You're all at your stage you need to be, but a lot are whooshing in with those first waivers, okay? There's a lot of fast work being done. Because remember, first waivers and the early group, we've set that stage. We've chopped down that, forest jungle because there's a more clear pathway, right? So now we're seeing this is funny. You know what they just showed? God, they live to give funny metaphors sometimes. You know how you see they're trying to show like something funny where somebody runs and then they stop and then boom, everybody runs into each other. That's what they're showing. And then they all fall down, right? But they're not falling down. So basically there are a lot of people catching up. Okay. So we kind of covered a lot of ground here today. I think I'm going to wrap this up. Bottom line, what we need to know here is we are in, they just said it, tremendously expansive times, individually and collectively. They said start creating from within. And we're always creating every single day. Every single day. What we do, we create. Some of you may be thinking, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. You're creating every day in anything you do. So if you can put into great intention with how you live your day and your job, the light you bring in every single day, look at the little things, okay? And you can make a difference. If you're creating something new and you're wanting to build something, I don't know, like a spiritually based business, because a lot of people are starting to do those kinds of things or going off on their own. Start looking at what inspires you, what is passionate for you, what makes you feel so good. Take just little steps. Start exploring. Many of you know what you want to do, and many of you are starting to create this out. And we're all going to come in different stages. But this is a massive time, they just said of opportunity and importance. I knew April was going to be huge. It's very much at the beginning of all of this. So I hope you've taken something away today that will assist you on your journey forward. What I always say is a couple pieces for your own journey, a couple puzzle pieces to put that together, because we're all putting the puzzle together of our own life journey as well as contributing to the collective in everything that we do. So keep that in mind as you journey forward. And again, if the other stuff doesn't resonate, just toss it aside. Take what works for you to help you forward. forward. So thank you so much for joining me today in this April energy update. And I will remind you of my services, purplerainhealing.com, where I do all kinds of channeling for you. We work together one-on-one as you go through your awakening ascension journey, or you can have individual sessions where you can just get some information to take forward in that time and make decisions later on if you want to work with me. I sound just like this. We talk about your own individual journey, however. We talk about past, present, and future. We talk about past lives. We talk about your full soul journey. We talk about how that influences your present day. And we talk about potentials for the future with the high energetic potentials we see now. So we really cover full-on soul journeys. And what we do is we bring in information to help you understand what's going on in your journey today and how you can help yourself forward. So it's not just about, fun information about past lives and fun information about what might happen in the future. This is solid, on-the-ground stuff you can take forward to create out of this as a light worker and as someone awakened. And so check out purplerainhealing.com. I have worked with so many of you, and I so enjoy getting to know each of you in your comments and in the work that we do together. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.